Alright guys, we're back again talking about Sadiq Khan, the low-life snivelling shitweasel people like John Burko and his pork sword loving wife voted for, as my last video pointed out. Now, as we know, Sadiq Khan himself loves his virtue signalling posts on Twitter and is often seen pushing some absolute lunacy that makes the Tories look competent and indeed patriotic. His latest shit show of a post is no different to that, though at least he's not race baiting in this one, I suppose. Instead, though, he's promoting something that looks like it was done by a 5-year-old or me, because it is about my level of art, let me tell you that. It is certainly not worthy of being on the underground that is, let's be honest, a tourist attraction at the end of the day, just as much as it's a transport system. Obviously, this has been ridiculed by the internet that even as Twitter sending it into the shit pits with a ratio Sadiq Khan is actually used to at this point. I mean, let's be honest, it was always going to get ratioed because it looks ridiculous and is not fit for public display if your kid brings it home from school, let alone on a publicly funded transportation network that, like I said, is essentially a tourist attraction also. It being done by an adult and so-called artist is just embarrassing, I might point out. I forgot his name now because honestly I don't fucking care. It's the sort of primary school work you put on your fridge when your 4 or 5-year-old brings it home on a Friday afternoon. But hey, I guess it shows doing this and promoting it is clearly more important to Sadiq Khan than stopping kids in London shish kebabbing each other on a daily basis. Anywhere else in the world a mayor with his record would be booted out of office or arrested, but here he's given another term by people like Burkuck and his postal voters. The media obviously coo over him like he's something special because he'll criticise Boris Johnson in public while going to Boris behind the scenes begging for more money because he's run TfL into the ground. I mean, at this point, how many bailouts did he ask for last year after giving free travel to everyone in London for 6 months? A move that looks like a deliberate act to cash in on the corona funds flying around like we had a Labour government again. Actually, no, this past year of Tory spending makes Labour look economically competent, which is actually saying something. You might remember we all slated off the Corbynated Chickens election manifesto planning to spend $150 billion on privatising anything they could, which Diane Abbott actually said was popular the other day.
I think it's a strategy problem. When Keir Starmer was first elected as leader, he talked about unifying the party and he talked about not oversteering away from the policies under Jeremy Corbyn. He needs to go back to that way of thinking. I think sacking Angie Rayner, for instance, is not a unifying thing to do. I think we need to be building on the policies in the 2019 manifesto, many of which were forward-thinking and popular. We need to get the strategy right.
You're talking about going back to the policies or building on the policies from the 2019 manifesto. Some people listening to that might think that is quite a staggering thing to say. You know, that was your worst result since 1935. You lost 59 seats. Isn't that a manifesto that failed?
It was a manifesto that, taking the policies individually, was very popular. There's no doubt that the party leadership came under fantastic media attack, but the actual policies were popular.
The policies might have been popular individually, but as a whole, they weren't popular, were they? They led to your worst defeat since 1935.
They polled well. Of course we had a terrible defeat. You don't need to remind me that it was a terrible defeat. But, you know, extraordinary media attack on the party and on our leader at that time. So we now have a chance to regroup, to unify and put forward those popular policies.
She is clearly off her tiny little mind, much like Sadiq Khan here, who must really think this looks good or actually bring something to the underground when it really does not. But I guess while he waits to tear down statues, he had to find new ways of destroying London in the meantime. This stupid art, if you can call it that, is certainly not making it any better, is it? Mind you, it's probably easier to do this and a bit of virtue signalling on Twitter than it actually is to deal with knife crime in London. Shit, give it a month, BLM activists would have convinced him to stop the Met Police from arresting ethnic minorities even if they commit serious crimes. Then the Met can join the old bill up in Rotherham shutting up for the sake of diversity.
Where